Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live Boldly with Sara. Sunday night, we are not doing, Joe is here, so we're not doing this from Wisconsin to California because he was out here for a couple of days and we went climbing mountains together, which brings up tonight's podcast episode, which is going to be a really good one. It's all about healthy risk versus or calculated risk versus an unhealthy risk that we sometimes take in life. This is off of us going and climbing. When did we go? Friday night?
Friday night.
Friday. And we ended up, we were going to go hit the mountains on Friday and go up to Mammoth area and start climbing into the mountains. But then we ended up not actually hitting the trail until Saturday morning. And what typically takes us 4 hours, 3.5 hours to 4 hours to climb, it took us 7. It was a long, long climb.
Long, hard climb.
Long, hard climb. So we get up to where we were going to camp at the second lake that we were at. And long story short, we didn't know that the weather was going to turn the way that it did. So should we tell the story of what happened and then how we ended up coming up with tonight's podcast episode?
Sure.
Okay. So what happened was we start climbing up the side of this mountain to get to this second lake, and we ran across a guy who told us that the weather was supposed to be turning. And we had checked. We're always really good about checking the weather. We carry our Garmin. We check the weather on the Garmin while we're out there. And the weather report that we had seen didn't say anything about that.
No.
At all.
Nope.
What did it say, Joe?
It said sunny and 30 degrees.
It's sunny and 30 degrees. Yeah. Well, so we were told then by this gentleman that the winds were supposed to start picking up and there was potential snow, rain, and that the winds by Sunday were supposed to be up to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
And he also recommended that we sleep down in the valley in the trees to stay in shelter.
So, Joe, are we really good about following that whole thing about? No, we're not. We like views and we would prefer, I don't know, what would you say, like a mountaintop, or like we like being closer to the ledge, not on the edge, but on further back on the ledge, because we like to be able to look out and see the views and enjoy.
Yeah. And if we put in the work and time, we make the most of it. So we want to be rewarded with that view.
Exactly. You got to come a little closer to the.
I will.
So anyhow, so we keep climbing up and we get up there at, I don't know, 4:30ish in the afternoon.
4:30.
And so we find this beautiful spot on the lake, and literally like on a ledge. It was gorgeous. We decided to keep going past the tree line and just keep moving up. And we put up the tent. And then we went to bed.
You tripped over a rock.
I did. I tripped over a rock.
Almost hurt your knee.
Almost hurt my knee.
Very bad.
That goes into be very careful when you're out there from what like is underneath the snow. And I didn't know that there was a massive rock there when we were trying to put the tent up very quickly. Mm-hmm. So long story short, we go to bed about 6 o'clock. Earliest I think I've ever gone to bed.
It was a lot of work to get up there.
It was a lot of work. A lot of work. And then about, I don't know, 10:50. I decide that I have to go to the bathroom. So I'm thinking it must be like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I roll over, I look at my phone and I'm like, whoa, it's only 10:50. That's crazy. So I go to the bathroom. It's beautiful outside. It's like still. And there's this light snow coming down and it was just amazing out there. And I'm like, Joe, it's so pretty. You should be out here. It's beautiful out here. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy didn't know what he was talking about. Clearly, he gave us the wrong information because the wind is not at all what he said it was going to be. Lo and behold, 45 minutes later, we hear the wind far away behind the mountains that we were in. Made a comment about that, like, thank God the wind is staying over there. And then all of a sudden, the gust comes through the mountains and around literally like it goes right around our tent. And it's crazy. It's like so loud and so windy. So we were up most of the rest of the night,
Yeah.
minus the cat naps of, the little sleeping intervals that we were in. And it was then that we decided to check the weather again on your Garmin. And what did
Right.
that say?
It said up to gale force winds of 40 miles per hour and the snow to pick up. And it
Yes,
was that night, even starting at 10, shortly after you went to the bathroom, sleeting and snowing on the tent the entire night.
the entire night.
The sides of the tent shaking,
Yes,
rattling,
we loved it.
splashing condensation on us.
But I mean, like we truly did love it though at the same time
Yeah.
because we love the extreme.
Hmm.
I prefer going in if you're gonna work your butt off, like make it something that's extreme
Right.
because to me that's like how you feel alive. There's a difference though between going extreme and being unsafe. And this is the whole part about the calculated risk versus the unhealthy risk. And so we decide at that point, we messaged your kids and my kids, and we were like, hey, we made it up here. But we decided that we're going to head off tomorrow instead of, uh, I guess we climbed on Friday,
Instead of
right? So we
staying up
came
a
off
second
on
night.
Saturday
Yeah.
instead of staying up. Yes.
The second night.
Yeah. So we decided we were going to head off. And one of my sons messaged back about healthy risk versus, calculated risk. It's good to take calculated risks and also know when to turn around and go back home. And that really stuck with me. And I was like, this would be a really good podcast episode because I think in life we become so afraid to even take a good calculated risk because we are afraid that if we take any risk at all, that something bad is going to happen. And in reality, you have to know the difference between what is a good, healthy, calculated risk that teaches you and you step outside of your comfort zone, you try something new, you have experiences like what we had, which was really amazing.
Right.
Because if we would have listened to the guy, we would have just turned around and been like, no, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't be here. Versus doing things that are just flat out stupid and putting yourself into danger.
Right.
So let's dive into that. So grab your journals, and we're going to give you 4 different things to think about. How do you go from where you're at into taking those calculated risks versus just sitting on a couch doing nothing?
Right.
So you want to start with number 1?
Number 1,
Analysis.
weighing the pros and cons of a calculated risk of the good things that can be, the good things that could happen versus the bad things. Is it healthy or unhealthy? Are there other people to consider? Do you have a backup plan? If all things fail or you have bad weather on top of the mountain, are you prepared for it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that goes into number 2, which is preparedness.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing with us is that we're always really prepared. Like our packs were massive. We took everything from microspikes to crampons to snowshoes to an extra, meal in case we got stuck out there for an extra day to having our Garmin. There are so many people, a couple of people that we passed. They weren't prepared at all. And I was like, what happens if something happens? Like, what are you going to do? We had a tent. We had the right tent. We had, sleeping bags, the whole 9 yards. So, and being prepared for all of what could go right as well as what could go wrong.
Right. But those people, I think their game plan was they weren't going to stay overnight up there. We were staying up there. So we prepared a lot. But I think just like in business and life, sometimes you can prepare too much.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
why it took us 7.5 hours to get up there is maybe we packed too much stuff because we were prepared for anything and everything. We had maybe too much clothes, too much food. But we knew we were more than safe. But if we would have got snowed in for 2-3 days, we had the supplies and the clothing and the means to do it. But at the same time, that's why it took us 7.5 hours to get up there.
Seven hours. Let's not add it. And let's not add
5
to
hours,
it.
I think.
Let's not add to it. It was long enough.
A lot of work.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of weight.
So sometimes I think you can I'm just going to say, sometimes I think you can prepare so much that it bogs you down from getting to your goal.
You're right. 100%. 100%. We were talking about that. We were like, did we really, what could we have left back there? And in reality, though, we weren't exactly sure where we were going to go either.
Mm,
We knew we were going to spend night one in the second lake, and then we had these grand ideas of like, well, we could go to this spot, which was to a glacier,
mhm.
and we didn't know if we would even make it halfway to it. But we had all these different like plans in action that we could take. It wasn't just this is where we're going to go and then we're going to turn around. It was we could go here, we could go here, we could go here, we could go here. Let's plan for all of it. Let's be prepared for all of it, and then see what the conditions and everything are like, and then go in that direction,
Yeah,
which I think is key
right.
because it also what we did was we always have like this hope to get to a certain spot, but if we don't make it, it's okay.
Right.
We just want to make sure that we like to do things at a grand scale.
Right.
So we don't like to limit ourselves. And hopefully this helps you to not limit yourself either.
Yeah. So that extra work was worth it for us in our calculated risk.
Mm-hmm. And then the third thing is motivation. What motivates you? What motivates you?
What motivates me
Yeah. What motivates you
to
to do
do
that?
that? To do that?
Or to do anything like in a calculated risk scenario?
Oh, the reward. What is the reward for it? In this case, it was being out in nature. We both like it's not everybody's thing, but we love getting out there because it's healthy for us. It makes us feel alive. We feel like we're living, and we just happen to be the only people. I say just the only people in the world
Yeah.
camping up there. This is a place that is typically packed, and we were the only ones.
Which is actually interesting because when I was back there, I was there in October and there were so many people.
Hmm.
And I think the thing that you and I were talking about that was really, it really stuck with me was when the conditions get to be extreme, people get afraid. And so then they don't go into that space. And we prefer, believe it or not, to go into it when there are extreme conditions, not crazy unsafe conditions, but when there are extreme conditions, when it gets more cold, when it gets more windy, when we have snow and blowing everything, it's fun.
Yeah, our goal was to create space just to be away from everything, just the two of us, and we were rewarded with it by going out in conditions that most people wouldn't.
Hmm. And we didn't see anybody,
No,
though we did have an animal track us. We're still trying to figure out what
something with very large paw prints and claws.
very large. Okay, so then the fourth thing that is that to really dive into and see, okay, is this a good calculated risk for me to be taking, or should I not be? Is what is the potential outcome of you taking this?
Right. Is it going to, one, harm, is there going to be harm to you or others if you take this risk? Do you have other people to consider or take into consideration when you take these kind of risk? I mean, one extreme unhealthy risk would be, driving your car under the influence, or using drugs. Um, Things like that are unhealthy risk. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, well, yeah, like, okay, here's a good one. Using your funds, your money, and putting it into a really good calculated risk of, I'm going to invest it in this versus an unhealthy risk of, I'm going to put all that money down on the blackjack table and hope for the best.
Hmm.
Which one is going to be, which one would you choose?
Yeah,
Well, we
well,
know.
yeah. What could the potential income?
Yeah.
Is it going to wipe you out financially, or you can afford to take that hit and you have a backup plan? I mean, the biggest thing in climbing mountains or investing, what's your backup plan if it fails? Do you have something in place, which would be a good calculated risk?
Hmm.
But having no plan in place and not being prepared for it in business, life, relationships, that's an unhealthy risk.
Yeah. So I think we made the right decision by walking off the mountain when we did.
Hmm.
There would have been a lot coming off in those
Yeah.
gale force winds, especially since this morning we stayed in Lone Pine and we could see Mount Whitney, the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states at 14,508. And we saw it and we were sitting there drinking coffee and we were looking up and we're like, oh my God, you could see the wind coming
Yeah.
over the mountain and like all of the white snow, all of the snow and just like everything coming around off of it. And it was just crazy. We're like, God, can you imagine being up there right now? That would have
Right.
been gnarly. fun,
yes.
but we
Yeah.
have 6 kids between us, so we should probably be careful too.
Yeah. And the other part of our decision, the calculation was if we come down early, what's our reward? We
What
got
was
to
that?
stay at the Dow Villa, the historic hotel in Lone Pine, where all these westerns were shot and all these western movie stars have stayed. And then we finished the day today going to a spa.
Which
So
we never
that
do.
was a great calculated risk.
That was a great calculated risk, which we never do.
And now,
And we're having a glass of wine together, doing a podcast
after all of
episode
that,
about calculated risks. So there you go.
Chianti.
Chianti, yep. So, okay. So first of all, analyze it, have an analysis on it, be prepared, preparedness, be motivated, like think about what is my motivation behind this, and then also what is the potential outcome. And when you put those 4 things into place, hopefully you can come up with a really good decision on should I be doing this? What do I want to be doing this? And is this the right thing to do in terms
Right.
of risk taking? But I love risk taking. I'm a big risk taker
Hmm.
and all calculated, really good, not unsafe.
Yeah. I think
So,
we all achieve growth anytime we take calculated risk. I mean, you're going outside your comfort zone or somewhat, you're pushing yourself, to a new level.
yeah, I agree. So, hopefully that helps you to go out and make those good risk taking yourself. And if this did help you, go share it with other people, blast it out into the world, share with us, and or tag us so we can reshare, and then go subscribe, rate, and review. And remember, we are on you. Well, I'm on YouTube. You're my
Mhm.
guest.
I'm just a
So
guest.
you're just the guest. I'm on YouTube, Sara Schulten Kranz, and let us know if there's anything else that you want us to talk about, and we'll make sure, or myself, because he's not always on, but
Hmm.
you're on with me sometimes.
Yep.
Like today, that was fun. God, that was
That
such a
was fun.
great time.
Great
It was
trip.
an epic freaking trip. I have to say, that was epic. 24 hours, it was epic.
That was a lot.
That was a
We
lot.
always squeeze a lot into it.
We squeezed so much
We
into
make
it,
the most of it.
but it was amazing. It was because it was 48 hours, right? 48 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Close
48.
to. Close to. It was epic. I think, what was your favorite part of it?
I think just being up there at our campsite where we put in all that work. We set up the camp. We got established just in time as the weather set in, and listening to sleet hit the tent all night, knowing there was going to be fresh snow out there. And we went up there to use our snowshoes, and we got to use them.
Yeah.
That was our whole goal. Is like, where can we go snowshoeing? And it was amazing coming down. I mean, coming down was so much easier, obviously,
It was so much
but it
fun.
was so beautiful, and it was
Yeah.
just so quiet and so raw and one with nature.
I think it was for me this morning when it was super windy and the sun came up over the mountains and just watching the sunrise through the
Mhm.
clouds, but then also far away because there were these big, beautiful spires and mountains in a distance, and then seeing kind of like the weather happening over in that direction
Hmm.
while the sun rays were also coming down. And then you had the snow that was coming through, and it was so freaking epic.
Hmm.
It was so beautiful. And I think that that actually is like moments like that remind me of how many microclimates or how many things are happening in life at one time. And you can still be so present and in the moment through it all.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful.
I remember that morning just waking up and we're starting to pack our stuff and just standing in the wind and that snow. And it was blowing so hard. It was stinging your face as it hit, but it felt so good.
Felt so good. So good. So, all right. Well, thanks to all of you. And if there's anything else that you'd like us or me to talk about, please reach out and let us know. Or let me know, Sara at sarahschultenkranz.com, and would love to have that discussion. Thank you for being here. Anything else you want to say?
Nope, that's
No,
it.
thanks.
Peace out.
Peace out. Thanks for being here. Talk to y'all later. Bye.